again. We're going to finish Chapter 5 with a discussion of nucleic acids. Nucleic acids are a fourth type of molecule that we see in living things. And what are they? Let's take a look. We'll think about their structure and their function. Nucleic acids are polymers again. This time, they're polymers of nucleotides. So let's write that in. Nucleic acids are polymers of nucleotides. We have to figure out what those guys are. Okay. So that's an E there. Nucleotides. Actually, there are nucleotides that make up a nucleic acid that are put together to make up nucleic acids. You're probably familiar with nucleic acids. I'm sure you've heard of DNA and RNA. These are examples of our nucleic acids. They're made up of nucleotides as monomers, building large molecules called DNA or RNA. Let's take a look at the structure of a nucleotide. Each nucleotide has 3 parts, and we'll take a look at their picture of these parts here. A phosphate group, you should have some idea of what that looks like. A pentose sugar, that's a 5-carbon sugar, and that sugar type can vary. In DNA, it's deoxyribose. In RNA, it's simply ribose. And then some base that has nitrogen in it, a nitrogen-bearing base called a nitrogenous base. And bases can either be 1-ring or 2-ring in size, pyrimidines or purines. Let's take a look. Here is a picture of the structure of nucleotides. And nucleotides bonded together. So in the middle in this box represents 1 nucleotide. Each nucleotide has a phosphate group. There's our yellow circle with the phosphorus in it. And attached to the phosphate group, the phosphate group is attached to the sugar at the 5th carbon, okay, of that sugar. We call it the 5' carbon. That's just a way to identify the carbons in the sugar and compare them and not get them mixed up with the carbons in the nitrogenous base, which don't have that little prime line behind them. Okay, so we have a phosphate group attached to the 5th carbon of a sugar. The sugar is a 5-carbon sugar. It's either deoxyribose, missing that oxygen, or it's ribose. In DNA, it's deoxyribose. And then attached to the 1st carbon of the sugar, the 1' carbon, if you will, is the base, the nitrogenous base. And there are different types of nitrogenous bases. Okay, the simplest are the 1-ring bases called cytosine, thymine, or uracil. 2-ring bases are a little bigger. They're called adenine and guanine. Each nucleotide has all 3 parts. And then, that's the monomer. And then you take nucleotides and connect them with a covalent bond to each other to form a nucleic acid. That covalent bond that forms has a special name. It's called a phosphodiester bond. And what happens is you get a molecule that has polarity to it, or sidedness to it, and you get what we're seeing here is one of our nucleotides, right? But you connect nucleotides to the 3rd carbon of the sugar. And you connect the next nucleotide to the 3rd carbon of the sugar. And what you have then is a molecule that has a hydroxyl group sticking out, the 3' end we call it, and a phosphate group sticking out on the other side, that's the 5' end. And you get this chain of nucleotides. This one happens to have 4 nucleotides long. Okay, this doesn't look anything like DNA, right? Nothing like it. Why not? Let's take a look at the next slide. But before we move on, I do want to point out, does anybody know where we're going to find uracil? uracil? Is it in DNA or RNA? Uracil is only in RNA. Thymine is only in DNA. Cytosine, adenine, and guanine are in both. So there's a little sneaky thing there. Oops. This looks a little bit more like the DNA we're used to seeing. If you're going to get a tattoo of DNA, you want it to look like this. You don't want it to look like, a string of nucleotides. We want it to look like this double helix, if you will. DNA is built of two strings of nucleotides bonded together, actually hydrogen bonded together in the middle. We'll talk more about DNA when we get to chapter 15, 16, 17. Okay? RNA, on the other hand, is single-stranded. RNA is made up of a single strand, and there are different kinds of RNA molecules. The one shown here is called tRNA, but there's mRNA, that's messenger RNA, there's rRNA, ribosomal RNA, there's something called miRNA. There are all sorts of different kinds of RNA molecules. This particular molecule, tRNA molecule, is really single-stranded, but it kind of folds up on itself. Okay, what do these things do? What are the functions of nucleic acids? I wrote in my notes the functions of nucleic acids are to carry and transmit hereditary information. To carry and transmit hereditary information. Yeah, they're the genetic information of the cell. In this picture, you can kind of see how DNA and messenger RNA function together to help build proteins. On DNA is our double-stranded molecule up here, are genes that are copied into single-stranded messenger RNA molecules. The messenger RNA molecules leave the nucleus, and they're used to help build proteins, shown here with those purple circles. Proteins are always purple in our textbook. Proteins then can be used as enzymes or structural proteins or transport proteins or hormones or whatever, right? So DNA carries the information for the building of these proteins. It carries the hereditary information, and messenger RNA is kind of a go-between. So we say that nucleic acids carry and transmit hereditary information. And that's it for this whole chapter. It's a biggie. Here are some ways to review. Here's a picture of a puppy that we raised for Paws with a Cause a couple years ago. We loved her. And that's it, folks. See you later.